All right, I figured I would do like a quick little demo of the workflow, and I'll do that by recreating the bottle sleeve. And, just create a new document. This tool is called Onshape. It's the CAD software that's like in a browser that I was telling you about the other day. When you just create a document, you're dropped into like this 3D view of these three two-dimensional planes that all intersect. And then there's some tooling here to help you kind of orient yourself. So I selected the top plane, so it gives you a top-down view of it. Then I'll hide the other planes just for simplicity. So what I'll do is first I'll model the actual like cup sort of, and I'll do that by creating a sketch on the top plane with a circle. That'll be the bottom of it. Then I'll create a variable and I'll call it bottom D for diameter. And I'll just put in a random value of 3 inches. While I'm here, I'll also create the top diameter, and I'll say it's 4 inches just for an exaggerated effect. The wall thickness, I'll say that, again, for exaggerated effect, I'll say it's 1/4 of an inch. Then the height, I will call that 3 inches as well. Add the variables, and those will make sense in a little bit. And then I'll use the dimension tool to constrain the size of the circle, or the diameter, say that it is bottom D. So now we have the circle in the sketch, and it's still two-dimensional. I mentioned the other day that you can like extrude things, and that's kind of what this would do. That creates a cylinder, but we're not really making a cylinder, so we'll not do it that way. And then, so this is the inside of it, and then I'll create another plane to create another sketch for the top diameter of it. The way you create another plane is with this plane tool. So it's an offset plane, and it's offset from the top plane, and it's offset by the height of the that we set in the variable thing. So now you have two planes. They are parallel to each other. I'll make it normal, and then I'll create another sketch with another circle. That's this tool right here, center point circle. When you click on a point, it'll kind of attach to it. It'll create a coincident constraint. Then I'll create another dimension here, and I'll say that this is dimension to the top D. So now we have two planes with two circles, and we will create a three-dimensional object from it by using the loft tool. So we'll select the bottom plane and the top plane, and now we've got this kind of semi-cone tapered cylinder looking thing. Okay, so that's what that is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually create another plane so that we have thickness on the bottom, and we'll create the outer surfaces of it, of this object, and then we'll subtract the two objects, and you'll see what I mean in just a second here. So we'll create a plane. It'll be an offset plane. It'll be offset from this, and it'll be the wall thickness is the offset. As you can see right now, it's adding it to the above the top plane. We actually want it to be below, so we'll change the direction of it. It looks good, and we'll create another sketch. So we'll look at the bottom of this, and then sketch plane will be this plane 2. We'll create a circle, and this circle will be, it won't have a diameter, but what we'll do is we'll use the dimension tool and say that the distance between the outer edge of the top circle and this one is the same as wall thickness. So that'll be 1/4 of an inch, and this fx just means that it's a computed property. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we will create another sketch on this other plane, and we will create the outer circle for that. And same deal, we're using the dimension tool, and we're saying that actually hide that to make it a little more obvious what's going on here, and we'll hide this sketch, but we'll show sketch 2. So we'll say that the distance between this and this is also the wall thickness. So we've done that. And now we'll hide sketch 2, and we'll show these 2 sketches, and we'll create another loft. Between here and here, that creates this object wheel, this, and I'm not exactly sure if this will work, but maybe if we intersect. No, we'll do it the other way. We'll basically create it as a new object. I think there's a way to do this a little bit simpler, but you can see it's kind of got these rendering artifacts, and that is simply because it's overlapping 2 objects. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select the Boolean tool, and we will say that we're subtracting. So the tool is the thing you're subtracting, and the target is the thing you're subtracting from. So we'll subtract this from this target. And what we're left with is this kind of cup that's tapered with a wall thickness of 1/4 inch. The reason we did this all in variables is that's what makes this kind of parametric CAD cool. So for instance, if we decided later that we wanted this to actually be 2 inches tall, we simply change that and it recomputes the whole object to correspond to that. Or, you know, if we wanted the wall thickness to be a 1/16 of an inch instead of 1/4 inch, we can do that too. Super straightforward. I'll keep it at 1/4 inch so that it's easier to demo the slicer later, but basically we have that. Then we can do some fancy things like I'm actually going to hide the planes so that we can look at just the object without anything getting in the way. So we can do things like we can create a fillet on this edge, and we'll say that that is, I don't know, 1/4 inch or something. That's too much, 1/8 of an inch. And that gives you like a nice little rounded edge there. Maybe you don't want a sharp edge on this either, so you can create another fillet. And you can select multiple edges, but I just want this one to be a 1/16 of an inch instead. Or you can also use the variables, and you can do math in here with the variables. So let's just say that it's the wall thickness divided by 2. So wall thickness was 1/4 inch, so this makes it 1/8. There we go. So here's our object. And then what we'll do is we'll select it in here, the part, and we'll export it, and we'll call it the model sleeve demo. Export. It downloads it as an STL file, and that's a special file format for 3D objects. Then in the Slicer software, this is Bamboo Studio. I believe it's a fork of a different one, but I mean, they all kind of do the same thing. So this, what you see here, when you just open it, this represents the print bed that the printer will print things on. Then I will import the STL file we just downloaded. Once that dialog was asking if it's millimeters or inches. So here it is. It's defaulting to the first filament that I have in the slot there, but the material I showed you the other day with those little circle things, that was TPU, so I'll change it, the material to TPU. In here you can do things like change the layer height, like each layer is 0.2 millimeters. You can change the number of wall loops, you can change the infill, and that's kind of what controls the softness of it. So I'll set that to say, well, let's just leave it at 50%. And then once you've got it all configured how you like, you hit slice plate, and that creates the G-code. So these are the layers that will be printed. Right now it's rectilinear, and that's why it's like this. That's the infill pattern. That's why it's just these squares. And you can also see the tool path that gets used. And what you see in this little area here, that's the literal G-code that the printer will be executing. So for instance, if you don't like the rectilinear infill pattern, you can change it to whatever else thing you want. Oh, that's the internal solid infill. So we'll change the sparse infill to be gyroid. That's the style of infill that was in, well, when you cut it open, that's what you saw basically. That's what this is. If we want it to be a different density, you can set that to like, 25%, for instance. And when you slice the plate, it'll show you now that it's a bit denser. Once you've got it configured how you like it, you can just hit this print plate button and it'll send it off to the printer. Right now the printer is doing other things, so it's not gonna work. Yeah, that's basically the gist of the workflow. I hope that helps.